Hi, so we are on to week 2, which was the propaganda. And so we were talking about the 1947 video, the Don't Be a Sucker, the propaganda video for the war. And then we were also talking about the AI robocall from Biden's presidency and laying those out and comparing them, and then just talking about propaganda overall and how it ties into the dark side of digital media, which I found very fascinating. So first starting off, according to Faw and Gore in chapter 2 of The Dark Side of Media and Technology, they go on to quote this, which I found tied really well into this lesson. They say that propaganda is often rote, canned, trivial, insincere, or worst of all, cruel and brutalizing, whereas living speech is humane, generous, sincere, and takes listeners' ethical lives and choices seriously. And I thought that that quote really tied into the propaganda, obviously, that we talked about in the chapters that we read, and both the video call and how the video also portrayed like the video was people in person, and then the AI robocall was obviously not real at all. And so the first question that we talked about was, what was each artifact trying to get its audience to do, think, and believe? And so starting off with the 1947 Don't Be a Sucker, the film encouraged Americans to reject propaganda and promotes prejudice and like hateful stuff towards like minority groups and things like that. And then the AI one generated people to not vote for Joe Biden. It was trying to get people to participate in just throwing that vote away and not voting for him by pretending to be Joe Biden's voice. And the message actually did seem pretty credible. So that is what they was trying to get those people to believe. And so the second question was, what happened as a result? So the results of that were the film became part of the US government to educate citizens about this type of like hateful propaganda that they could be seeing and prejudice towards these different groups. And then the robocall led to investigations and legal consequences for the creator, and it also led to huge concern about AI and then its use in elections and how that was going to be used to harm and or help candidates, because obviously we were trying to promote AI in like a more positive way, and this actually shut it down like pretty bad. So that's kind of the result of that. It kind of took a big hit negatively for AI. And then the third question was, how does each artifact attempt to influence their audience? So in the 1947 in the film, it used storytelling, historical evidence, factual, like real-time things that were going on, and obviously the appeals to the audience in the current time to show the division that was going on. And the robocall relied on lies and deception, and it used the familiar voice that everybody knew and thought to be Joe Biden to make the message appear authentic, which it was not. And then where did I see the darker impacts? So the film I saw kind of shows how propaganda harms minority groups and weakens society through fear and separation instead of like unity. So instead of like bringing everybody together, like the video, instead of like let's all like be cheery, kind of like was like and like fear based instead of love based, if that makes sense. And so I kind of thought that was the more darker side of the Don't Be a Sucker. And then the more darker side of the robocall was obviously that it was a lie and it was misleading information that harmed people and actually caused people to vote differently than they would have. And so it was just pure manipulation. And then putting these two together, it showed that propaganda can cause social and political harm in the long term and in the short term. Like just how fast that AI like really influenced the election. And then, as Bowman and Cohen argue in chapter 3 of our textbook, misinformation is a de novo problem in a new form, meaning so that it's new version of an old challenge rather than an entirely new phenomenon. So AI doesn't really create harm, but it does increase the speed, realism, and reach of traditional older techniques and things like that. And then finally, for my open-ended question is, as AI generated content becomes more realistic and accessible, what responsibility should individuals or like people, companies, businesses, and most importantly the government share in helping people recognize and try to resist this type of propaganda? So I thought that that was very necessary for this week. So Thank you very much.